Girl, move on. You are so out of line for saying that. Used to saying that I was a big ass red flag, okay? Okay, I'm actually excited for this one and a little bit nervous. Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Celeste Elise and I make videos to help you reach your full potential. So today we have something a little bit different. I'm going to react to my own dating advice. I made this video with a friend when I was like 28 years old. So a lot has happened between 28 and 31 now. So I'm curious to see what perspectives may have changed. I recently sent this to a friend and I was kind of embarrassed. I was like, oh no, I feel like I had pick me tendencies. So let's just see how I feel now and we'll watch it and react together.
I'm assuming you have friends. So do you believe in having friends of the opposite sex? And let's say they're attracted too.
I do. This is actually like a newish thing for me though. So, my old perspective was if you really care so much about someone that is of the opposite sex and y'all get along and they're attractive, then like what's the reason why you wouldn't just be with them? But I think that's kind of a young perspective. And as I've gotten older, I look for different things in dating, right? So I think there's a lot of good people out in this world. A lot of good men that are great friends and can contribute to my life and I can contribute to their life. But that doesn't necessarily mean that we'll be good partners. And so I don't see anything wrong with being friends with people of opposite sexes. And I really don't think there's anything wrong, even if they are attractive. I think it kind of adds to the security where it should help your partner feel even more secure. I mean, that's how I would look at it. But you know how people are though, they're shady too. So you just have to be careful.
Okay, I want to react to that. So my instincts were right here. Like ultimately you can have attractive friends. I don't see any issue with that. But I also was like, well, people are shady though. So I also had that thought. And that is so true. Like looking back on that, I had a very attractive friend and we had gotten really close. And I was just lying to myself when I thought that I didn't like him. I had the biggest freaking crush on this man. And just putting myself in a situation whenever he had girlfriends and people like, I don't even know why I was torturing myself and putting myself through that situation. So I don't think there's anything wrong with it, but I feel like you have to have boundaries. Like if this person is your friend and they're an attractive and they're a man, like what are you guys doing together? Like is it just like a social thing? Like you guys like to go out together because you guys have like mutual friends or whatever? Or is this someone that you're calling on the phone, you're having long conversations with, you're spilling out your whole life story? Like that can be a little tricky. So I would probably tread water in those situations. But I don't think there's anything wrong. And I feel like secure relationships, like you can have friends, but they should be shared friends. Like, I always say just like don't add more mess to your life than than you need to. And yeah, that can get very messy very quickly. So like, are you adding to their life or are they adding to your life? Right? Because I think that changes things as well. So my thoughts.
Well, it depends on what those values are, right? Like some of my friends are great listeners, they can hear me. But when it comes to dating and the values that they look at for or look for in women, they don't align with what I have or what I can give them. So, and just because you're a great listener doesn't mean that we should be dating, but that doesn't mean that, I can't spend time with you and you can't be in my life and things like that.
Okay, so I think that's a really good point, right? Like if you have attractive friends who like you actually care about in terms of like just friends and boundaries and whatnot, you guys could be perfect for each other on paper, but not like perfect for each other, like compatible wise. And I experienced this. So I'm an engineer, my dad's an engineer, and like we both think the same way, like very logical. I was looking for guys that were doing the same exact thing. Like I was interested in engineers as well. And I was also interested in guys that were climbing up the corporate ladder. And like they didn't want me and I didn't want them, right? Like those two aren't necessarily compatible all of the time. Like we always had power dynamic issues. So I feel like if you can catch them young, and I think I talk about that later in this video too, but like if you can catch your career driven focused man when you're also young and career driven, I think that works. But like late 20s, early 30s, also looking for that same situation, like, ugh, you know, that power dynamic can get weird. So me wanting someone like my dad didn't even want someone like me. Like my dad married my mom, who is awesome, but also she's like stay at home wife. She didn't have the full career, all of those things. So it's just like I don't know, you have to think about those power dynamics. I hope that makes sense and there's no shade to anyone in any of those situations, but you do have to be realistic about the type of relationship that you want, and power dynamics are very real. There's that.
Kind of just sitting in a friend zone, and he could potentially be waiting for his opportunity to slide in when you're the most vulnerable.
I mean, you can't avoid that. That's going to happen either way, whether it's a friend or not. And I feel like if that person is really your person that you're supposed to be with, then it won't matter, even at their most vulnerable state. If they're really down for you, they're going to be down for you, and it shouldn't impact anything. But at the same time, though, I mean, you just have to use your best judgment, right? Because people will hang around and they will swoop in. But I mean, you just have to be secure in your relationship. That's the thing about it. What are you doing to make somebody that vulnerable where it would be that easy for for you to lose your partner just because you're upset or sad or they did something wrong in that moment?
Okay, I just want to clarify, like, if someone comes and takes your man, it's not your fault because you're doing something that um makes your relationship vulnerable. Like, I didn't mean it that way and I don't mean it that way to this day. So there's that. Okay, also security is such a big thing in a relationship. Like, and I think this is going to be a theme throughout the video, but my friend keeps throwing out like all of these different situations that could happen. And things will happen in life, like that's a given. But if you're insecure, or if you have an insecure relationship or attachment to your partner, those things are going to rock your boat. Like, those things are going to bring chaos into your life. But the key is having a secure relationship with a secure partner and being secure in yourself so that you can even find those other two things. That's a key. That eliminates so much mess in your life, and it sounds so easy, and it is simple, but it is not easy. Okay? Like, let's be clear there.
So let's say you have a friend and they're attractive. How did you initially meet that person, and why are they not a partner?
Most of the time, I met them because they were pursuing or I was pursuing them. But, as you get to know someone, you just realize that they're not the person for you. And I feel like we lose out on a lot of opportunities and people because, we just feel like we just need to cut them. Patrick's joining us. But I don't think we really have to, just because I meet you at a bar or whatever and we're drinking and you're cute, right? Why does that qualify you just to, be in my life and be my person? I don't think it does. And I don't feel like just because I met you in that sense that you can't contribute or I can't contribute to your life and be around you.
I don't agree with this at all anymore, but I also think it's funny. Like, Cleopatra is always going to pop up in my videos. And then the other thing with the video is, girl, boundaries. Not everybody is like qualified, or just not everybody needs to be in your space. And I wish that I would have learned that earlier, because it would have saved me a lot of hard lessons. We can do a story time about like how this person that I met at a bar, and how him and his friends and being in that circle just brought a bunch of chaos into my life. So it's really crazy, the foreshadowing here, that I'm like, well, just because we met in that situation and we were, attracted to each other, but then we're just friends, or yada yada yada. No, girl, don't do that. Like, seriously, like, you have good people in your life, you have your friends. You don't have to be rude or standoffish to people, but like, protect your tribe, protect your peace. Okay, don't be afraid to do that.
So for some of these male friends you have, let's say you go out, who's paying most of the time?
They pay for themselves and I pay for myself.
Wrong.
If they pay for me, I personally will stop people because I don't want them to ever get anything confused or feel like I ever owe them anything. But also the people that I keep in my life, I don't think they would ever feel that way too. But it's a good safeguard for yourself. I think just not to let people pay for you when you don't have any interest. Now, if they're just raised that way and like you see that they're clearly that way with everyone else, I think that's fair too.
Do you think
Okay. I'm having issues. I might need to change up my batteries, but when it comes to paying and stuff, like, ultimately I was right in the end. Like, I feel like if people are raised that way, and I do think, like, if I have a son, I'm going to raise him to be a gentleman, and if he's going out with women that he thinks are truly his friends, he needs to be a man and he needs to pay. Like, that's just my straight up perspective. Like, why would you bring out someone that you don't want to pay for as a man? Like, I'm sorry, I will die on that hill. Okay, that's just how I feel. But this was a trauma response, I think, honestly, because I had people take advantage of the situations or put me in uncomfortable situations, because I felt like sometimes I couldn't speak up for myself and just like, turn people down or whatever. But I don't think there's anything wrong with allowing the man to pay. And I feel like if I'm going to be in your space and we're going to enjoy time together, that, you're my friend and you're a male and a gentleman, you should pay, right? Like I just don't see anything wrong with that, and I feel like that should be the standard. Now, there's people go through different things in life, and this if this truly is a friend, like years, like we're just gonna split, we're gonna go 50-50, like it's not gonna be a big deal. Like I just really don't think this is that big of an issue. But I do think it is a standard as a gentleman, and I have friends like this that will pay and cover the tab because they're gentlemen, and that's just what they are. And I feel like gentlemen get treated differently because they go in with that standard and that respect, and that's just how they carry themselves. Just like women get treated differently based off of how you carry yourself too. I don't feel like how that's different. It's a huge debate. I don't think it really should be. It's very simple, but like you don't need to have a trauma response to, allowing people to pay for you, right? Like work that out, okay? That should be separate things.
Well, I would love for my partner to pay for everything, but I don't think it's realistic and I don't think it's fair. I mean, the first thing is like, you gotta be open and honest with your partner. And I mean that in a way where you don't necessarily have to know exactly how much your partner makes, but you can just watch their own money habits and how they spend. And I think that's a decent indicator of how much money or disposable income they have to spend on you. And, I say that because if I really, really love someone and I really want to be down with them, but they don't make a lot of money, I'm not going to expect them to pay for everything and go into debt because that really is just self-sabotage from my perspective. Because if I really love you, but I'm draining your bank account and you're putting yourself into debt and we get married or whatever, like that debt is my debt and I don't want all that. So either way, let's have a conversation about it. You can treat me in ways that maybe aren't monetary while you work on your income or work on your expenses. But I think it's not necessarily monetary. I want to be spoiled in love and time and patience and all of those things. And, at the same time though, like, don't have expensive taste and not be able to treat me too, right? Like if you have designer shoes, designer clothes, you out drinking all weekend, and then you come home to me and it's like, oh,
Very,
well,
very
I'm just gonna
true.
cook and eat at home all week. I'm like, no, that's not okay either. Like
No,
you need to adjust your priorities.
no way.
So how big of a sip do you require the man you're dating to get? I'm kidding.
Okay, my homeboy was just messing with me. But everything I just said is so true. Like I don't disagree with anything. The only thing about it is just like I do think that men should date whenever they're ready financially to do so, especially in your late 20s and your early 30s. Like younger before that, like, it's a free for all. Like we're all broke, we're all coming up, like we're all young. But I think, in your late 20s and your early 30s, I really do think that men put their money, like men spend their money where they care. And I think a lot of the times issues that we have in dating is like we hang around and we stay with people that don't like us, and one very clear sign of whether or not a man likes you is whether or not he's spending money on you. The man that really likes you will spend his last on you. Now, do you want to let him do that forever? That's on you. And I think I explained that pretty well, pretty decently there. But, um, you know, would I go and share this perspective with like my first date, my second date, my third date? Heck no. I'm not telling them any of those things because people take advantage of things like that. Okay. So if they just want to hang around for a long time for just like fun or whatever, they're going to take advantage of a woman that thinks like this. So I'm going to keep that close to chest. But I don't think I was wrong there. Anything I said there, I agree with to this day.
In the current dating market, have you noticed the difference between dating a man in his 20s, 30s, and even 40s? Like, what are the different characteristics that the men have?
Absolutely. I actually have a whole theory on this. So I guess it also depends on the kind of guy that you want to, right? So I'll start out with just someone that you want to have fun with. If you want to just go out and have fun and enjoy life, a guy in their 20s is perfect, because they're going to want to be going out all the time. They have disposable income because they don't necessarily have real responsibilities. So they'll spend all their money on the weekends and probably eat soup or whatever during the week. And if you're just dating them, who cares? Like that's fun, whatever. Guys in their 30s, they probably are going out, but they have more finesse because they've been doing it a little bit longer. So if you are dating and you're someone that kind of wants to be the only person in that person's life, I feel like the 30s, early 40s guy is probably not for you. When it comes to 40s, later 40s, they're fun because they'll come pick you up on a weeknight. You can go have a nice dinner. They'll spend money on you, and they're smart too, right? So they'll be able to compartmentalize. So they realize that you just want fun, but they want someone in their life, so they probably don't mind. And so that's where that's at. But if you're looking for more of like a serious relationship, All of the guys that will be faithful and have their head on straight, have like, good job, reasonable, responsible. I feel like they are all taken by now or have like serious partners that they're in the middle of working things out with that you would have to compete with. So I feel like a serious relationship, like right here, right now, out here in these streets with someone in their 20s is probably not going to happen. Um, 30s, it's difficult too, right? Because if they're not taken, then they're just focused on building and working, and so they don't want to spend any of their extra income on you or even their time on you to build that relationship because they are just hyper focused on.
Okay, this is so true. So this whole theory that I had about the different dates and experiences that you're gonna have with guys, I think that's like true to a T still. And like, who do I think I am having all this experience dating and stuff? I swear, I had my fun and I dated, but like, I don't know. Anyway, so 20-year-olds, I completely agree. Like, if you meet the right 20-year-old, like a 20-year-old, and then by 20-year-old, I mean 20 to 29, that just got their first corporate job and now they're just like out of the bat getting six figures, they don't know how to spend that money. They're going to go below that money on women in a good ass time. So, I mean, and if you don't mind not being the only one, if you just like want to go out all the time and have some fun, um, guys in their 20s, early 20s with the bag, with that corporate income, yeah, they're where it's at. But I mean, you can't really expect anything serious with them because like they're getting that taste of money and women. And a lot of the times, like they were nerds in their life before. And this is the first time that they're ever experiencing this level of attention and fun. So if you can, lock them in before they get that big head, okay. But after that, nah. And then 30s, they start to get a little bit more reasonable, like, oh shit, like maybe I should marry this girl that I had met in my 20s who stuck around through all the bullshit that I put her through. Or they're like, nah, I'm going to, stack up my money and really grow my business, whatever it is, so that I can get the actual woman that I want. If they still can't get it, right? Because men are driven by women still. And then 40s and 50s, like, I think, like, at this point, if they haven't fixed their personality traits as to why they're still single, I mean, you can go out, but you probably won't have a good time. I mean, if you want to hang out with somebody that has like a not the best personality or, something is probably quirky about them. And I hate to say that, but like, I don't know, in some instances it can be true. But they are going to, they do have more disposable income and they are able to compartmentalize and do that. And I don't disagree with my perspective here. Like, but I don't around like slim pickings in terms of like who's ready for a serious relationship. But I also feel like you shouldn't, like, as a single woman, you shouldn't take that as like being a bad thing because you're unique and you're special and you offer something that nobody else can. And your right person is going to find you regardless. So don't get discouraged.
Getting money and getting as much money as they want because if they can do that in their 30s, their late 20s, by the time they're 40, they'll be able to date anyone they want because they can just spend money and get whoever they want. So 2030s is like very slim pickings out here. But
Not whoever, but you know what I mean. The thing about it is like if you're a single woman and you're motivated by money, it's a scary place to be. The world will just swoop you up. So cautionary tale here. Oh my gosh.
40s, I think they have it together. They realize what they want. If they've had their fun spending their money on girls, that they are probably not interested in, then they settle down and are probably kind of looking to settle down and actually date just one person. So I feel like the largest dating pool for me as someone that's in their late 20s that could potentially be looking for something more serious, I would absolutely have to look at the 40 plus pool. That's my theory.
I think my perspective on this is because I was dating someone or I had just had a long relationship with a 40-year-old and I was 28 years old. And so it works when you're not 30 yet, I think, because at that point I wasn't like fully mature. And so I didn't realize how immature he was at 40. And now at 31, when you're dating like these 40-year-olds, these 50-year-olds, you realize how immature they are. They're just like grown children. So I don't know, sis. Your man will be different though.
You made an interesting point about the men in their 40s. So men from their 20s, 30s, and to get to their 40s, they built a lot of income, they make a lot of money, so their options are pretty much limitless.
Yep.
Why would they want to settle down. Now that they have plenty of options, they can get whatever they want. At what point should they have to settle down, or why would they need to?
Everything gets old, you know? They'll probably get exhausted of talking about the same dry topics at dinner or having like these light ass conversations or even, you know, I was in my younger 20s. I know I was a lot to handle. And so dealing with that over and over and over again can be exhausting to a man. So I think they just get over it. I think they realize like this was fun. I got it out of my system. I realize I can do that. You know, now may be the time where, you know, if I find her, you know, I think they don't mind. They're still out here in these streets enjoying it. But if they do find someone that they do connect with, I think they're more capable of settling down.
Okay, I think the mature ones will realize this. Like the mature 40, 50, late 30-year-olds will realize this. Like they will get over like this running around with a 20-year-old situation. And once they actually meet someone that they can see as a wife, they will marry her. That is the mature thing to do. But like I said before, like these men, they kind of like stay at the same maturity level throughout this age. And I'm not even just bashing men, women do this too, right? That's why I encourage self love and self development so that you're not 40 years old or 50 years old, which is nothing wrong with it. But you can't date with the same mentality that you did in your 20s. Like that needs to mature as you get older as well, too. Okay, I got to change out these batteries because this is pissing me off. All right. We got the remote fix. So we are back. Got the remote fixed. Short little break. We're back.
So we can get to if a man can build his legacy, build his dynasty, make a lot of money. Let's say a woman decides to go the same route. She wants to be independent. She's starting to make a lot of money up into her 40s.
Yep.
What does the dating market look like for her? Does she have unlimited options?
No,
Or what?
not at all. Um, Women often have to downplay, um, you know, what they have going on, like their success in their career, how much money they make. I mean, even just being a responsible human, right? Like, you know, not letting your tags go out or things like that. They have to downplay just even those simple things because men's egos, like, it's so huge. You cannot intimidate a man. And it's so crazy because men will literally leave you because they know that they cannot give you what you need, or you know, maybe they're just lazy too, right? Like, I don't want the pressure of looking at this person and comparing myself and seeing that, you know, just feels so easy. They have it together and they're doing all of this, and I don't have it together yet, or it's more difficult for me. And I think even more so specifically with Black men because of what they go through and the challenges they face in this world, it can be really difficult, and it's kind of like demasculating, I feel like, in a sense, to date, you know, someone that, you know, is more independent, has it together in that in those later ages.
Okay. Hard truth. I don't disagree with anything I just said there. Um, and I don't know if it's different for like black men versus any other race of men because I've only dated black men. But I'm just gonna say I have experienced this. I have a lot of friends that have experienced this, and if you have someone that like loves the hard work that you put in, the hard career, like the career respects the career that you have, and all of those things, like awesome. I'm so glad that you're an exception to this. But generally speaking, like it's just a truth. Like it's one of those things where it's like I'm literally saying the quiet part out loud here, but like you don't go on your first date, your second date, your third date as a woman talking about your career, your accomplishments, how much money you make, or any of those things. Like I'm going to say the quiet part out loud again. But like you save those things. Like, I mean, you probably never even have to say them, honestly. Like, you save them once your partner is already attached and then they can come out and then they don't care, right? But like those things, you know, every woman has a choice, right, on when you want to raise or bring up or share those things. So that's on you. But, you know, psychology is real, human behavior is real, and we study those things, and there are patterns associated with it. And oftentimes, women do have to protect the man's ego, um, especially in dating. Like, it's just a vulnerable experience. So I don't disagree. I'm sorry, I don't disagree. And even the small things, like, I mean, honestly, when you're dating and you're first dating someone, if you can just like say that you need some help, especially if you're a strong woman, like that's independent and has her career, like sometimes those are things that people or women will use to like bait a man to make them more comfortable with that situation, is like, oh, her life's together, but like it's actually not together. She can't even keep her tags or whatever. Like, give the man what he wants and make him feel needed in that situation. So there's that. Sorry for saying the quiet part out loud, guys. I don't know.
Women would just say physical attraction is a big component, and women in their 40s just don't look as good as women in their 20s. So that could possibly be an issue as well. What do you say to that?
Boy is definitely trolling. Like, if you believe that, girl, move on. Men will sleep with like I don't know if I can say that on YouTube or not, but like if you look up attractiveness, like what makes someone attractive, fertility is there. Okay? Like fertility. Can you create another person? If you have lady parts, that makes you attractive. Like you literally like you do not have to think about that. My 20-year-old self and my 30-year-old self now, like there's no change. That is just not true. It's just not true. Now, if you start to get older and you start to believe people like that, that's whenever you start to get insecure. And so that's whenever you might see a difference in your dating life is like, oh, I was so secure and confident in my 20s. Now in my 30s and 40s, the world has made me insecure. And so my dating is different. Like those differences do happen, but that's not because you're less attractive or anything like that bullshit. Okay. Like be for real. No.
That's the kind of guy who thinks like that I would never entertain, because it's just such a shallow thing and it's such an incorrect thing as well. So if that's their perspective, cool.
You go, girl. Yes. Like you have control over who you allow in your life. Like the mind and the way that you think is so important. So you don't have to even put yourself in a situation to be rejected by a bullshit ass man that would discriminate against your age. Like be for real. Okay?
Biological clock. Women in their 40s won't be able to have that large family. So if a man wants to have a large family, he's not looking for women in their 40s.
This is dumb. Like he should have started earlier, just like she like if they really wanted a large family. There's so many ways to make babies these days. Like this is not for real. If a man loves you, this will never ever be an issue. And you should never be with someone like this is a clear sign. Like they're like, well, I really want to have a big family, and you're just not it. Like he's lying. That's not the real excuse. Like he just is not that into you. It will never. The biological reason will never actually be a real reason. If a man loves you, and you should only be with a man that loves you, this will never be a thing.
But I will say this too, right? So, if I'm dating someone that is 40, 45 years old, I'm in my later 20s, I realistically think about like, stop. I'm gonna have to put you in a home, or, I'm still gonna be hot when I'm 40, right? So, 10 plus years, and I'm gonna be, taking our kid to school, and there's gonna be a hot 40-year-old dad. Maybe he's single. Like, am I gonna be happy coming home to my old man and knowing that there's these other options of being younger?
First of all, girl, you are so out of line for saying that. Yeah, girl, I don't know. Like that didn't need to be said out loud. And I think this works both ways. Like in this situation, like these things came across my mind. And that's because I didn't actually like this dude. Like the attraction it just like fundamentally was not there. I liked a lot of things about him and I liked a lot of things about the relationship, but deep down, this was not someone that I could be happy with for the rest of my life. And it was just like so clear because girl, like what why would I even think something like that? When you're deep in love, like like love to like the love that like you need to build a happy foundational marriage and commitment and everything, girl, this will not be a thing. So it goes both ways. Like there's both ways. Like he should have seen that I was a big ass red flag. Okay, I was not into that relationship. Because why would I say something like that, girl? Why would I say that?
When you dated this 40-year-old man, was he also dating other women that were in their 40s, or was he dating you because you were in your 20s?
I mean, he was dating me because I was in my 20s. I'm very aware of that. And I mean, when I reflect back on that relationship, it was so obvious why. It's because it's easy to, it's not easy, but anyone that just pays attention can see that there's a pattern in the way that women in their, early or late 20s move. There are things that motivate them. I was speaking on the differences between men in their 20s, 30s, and 40s before, right? Men in their 40s have spent more time around women. They have studied women. They understand, how to treat them, how to talk to them, how to love them. It's different. It's coming from a place of experience. And so if you're younger in your early 20s and you find that, you feel so special because you haven't experienced that before and it feels new, it feels different. And so it's easy for them to kind of, sweep you off your feet. And I was thinking about this actually before, we started this, and I was kind of just like reading back on some of my old text, and I found, this guy had sent me this long kind of paragraph expressing his interest and his love for me. And, one thing that he said that when I look back at it now, it makes me cringe. He said, I found a diamond in the rough that, or I guess he probably didn't say in the rough. He said, I found a diamond that was so bright and shining, but no one else could see her. And I felt like I had gotten so lucky. I don't want that kind of love. I want you to love me even when everyone sees how awesome I am. I don't want you to just, take my diamond and hide me amongst some coal so no one else finds me. That's not love to me.
I think I could just read the room. And I'm really glad and proud of myself for like just realizing the bullshit and all of those things. Like there's patterns and like behaviors and ways that people think. And if you study them, people can use them to like charm and love your partner better, or you can use it to manipulate people. And I hope more people use it to charm and love the people around them better. But there are people in this world that will use that and manipulate you. And I think what I was seeing here was that that partner was manipulating me into a situation that he knew I didn't want to be in. And that's just the truth.
I I want to be able to be my full self at all times. So I don't ever want someone just to come in and just feel like they need to minimize me or overshadow me so that no one else can see me. It's not even about physical attraction. It's just about, growing into the best person that you can be. And I feel like sometimes men come along and, whisper things in women's ear that, make them doubt themselves so that they never, become better or make more money or, be perceived as superior to their man.
I do know, and I knew exactly what I was saying there, and I don't disagree. It's funny. I mean, that's exactly what I was talking about. Like, it's manipulation. It's trying to get people to stay in situations, and it comes from a place of insecurity. I think that dude was just insecure, and I don't mean to talk about him the whole video, but that like it was just so clear, girl, that's what you were going through in that situation. But all in all, like looking back at myself talking about my dating advice as a 28-year-old and now 31, the thing is like we all know, like I knew I had good instincts. I just didn't act on them. I knew what was good for me. I knew when things like felt like a red flag. I just didn't act on them. I didn't trust my instincts. I don't think any of these things are new. Any of these things these gurus or people online are talking about is new or different. Like we know at the end of the day, we know, like we all have that gut feeling. And I just feel like if I would have followed it, I encourage you all to follow yours. It'll be better. But this is fun. If you guys like these type of videos, comment, like, subscribe. Let me know your thoughts and your feelings. Maybe we can do some more chats like this. Thanks, everyone. Bye bye.